Hi there, and today's first two pages is coming from How to Cheat a Dragon's Curse by Cressida Cowell from the How to Train Your Dragon series of books. I was introduced to these books long before they became films. And I remember my wife was reading the first book, How to Train Your Dragon, to my son when we were on holiday in Padstow in Cornwall. And I was reading my own book, and within minutes, found myself putting my book down and just listening to my wife reading to my son and howling with laughter. The books are absolutely hilarious. They are phenomenal, and I would highly recommend them. They're great. They're great to read to children, but for young children to read. My son has now read every single one of these books. There's quite a large number of them about Hiccup, Horrendous Haddock the Third. And if you've seen the films, they are nothing like the books. The films are great, and I love the films. They're very, very funny, but they have virtually no resemblance whatsoever to the books. Toothless is very, very different in the books to the films. In fact, everyone's incredibly different. So if you've seen the films, don't think, well, there's no point in reading the books. There are, because they're entirely different. There is virtually zero similarities between the books and the films. Based on the books by Cressida Cowell is incredibly loose, kind of completely disregarding the majority of the plot of these books. So don't feel worry about that. They do work completely separately from each other, and they are both brilliant, and this is really hilarious. And I will probably read more than 2 pages. I'll break my own rules, but hey, it's my lockdown project. I'll do what the hell I like, to be honest with you. But as you can see, that's 1 page. It's going to be a very short video, so I'll just carry on, and until I feel I'll stop. Anyway, chapter 1, the hunting with bows and arrows on skis expedition. Winters were always cold in the Viking lands, but this winter was the coldest in 100 years. It was so cold that the sullen sea had frozen over, and all the islands in the inner isles were now joined together by a great flat desert of solid ice, 2 meters thick in places. On this particularly cold morning, several hours before breakfast, it was as if the whole world was holding its breath, frozen in time. The air was as sharp as broken glass, no sound disturbed pure snowy silence. No sound, that is, apart from an appalling, mad screaming coming somewhere out in the middle of the ice. For a small party of young boys and their teacher from the hooligan tribe had set out from the little Isle of Burke, where they lived, to the Isle of Villainy to the south. Not in a boat, of course, for you cannot sail across a frozen sea. They were speeding far too fast across the ice in an enormous wooden Viking sleigh pulled by 6 pure white saber-toothed driver dragons, larger than lions and faster than cheetahs. The dreadful mad yelling was coming from the man driving the sleigh, Gobber the Belch. Gobber was the teacher in charge of the pirate training program on Burke, and he was an enormous monster of a man wrapped up in his furs, who could easily be mistaken for a grizzly bear with a dirty red beard and an attitude problem. "Get on with it, you miserable white worms," roared Gobber at the saber-toothed dragons, cracking his whip above their heads. "I've had snails that have moved quicker than you lot, but Granny could skip faster than this, and she's 104. Yeehaw!" One gigantic furry arm lashed out with a whip that curled through the air like a great black serpent. The other shook the reins in a lunatic frenzy that sent the driver dragons bounding forward in terrible, uncontrollable leaps. Behind Gobber on the sleigh sat 12 of his pupils. 10 of these boys were ugly young thugs, yelling as loudly in crazy excitement as their teacher. "Yee-ha-ha!" they whooped as the sleigh hit a snowbank and sailed 10 meters through the air and then slammed back down on the ice with a stomach-churning violence. "Yee-ha!" The last 2 boys were smaller than the rest and a lot less excited. "I'm glad," gasped Hiccup, Horrendous Haddock the Third, as the sleigh tipped over wildly on one runner with an awful screech and spray of ice. "I'm glad I didn't have breakfast, because I think it would have come up again." Hiccup is, in fact, the hero of this story, although you would never have guessed it to look at him. He was small and red-haired and very, very ordinary. Hiccup's best friend, Fishlegs, a skinny runner-bean of a boy with asthma and a squint, wasn't really listening. He was praying to Thor with his eyes squeezed shut. "Please, Thor," begged Fishlegs, "please, make it stop." There we go. First 2-bit-ish pages of How to Cheat a Dragon's Curse. This has got one of the best endings ever. It's really, really funny. So I would thoroughly recommend a read, particularly if you've got young kids, you know, kind of like anything from like 7 to 15 and older. Just read it aloud and do voices and silly things like that. It is absolutely brilliant. I love these books. But anyway, thank you very much for listening. I hope you have enjoyed today's first 2 pages. A little bit more than 2 pages, but there we go. If you have, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this type of content, and as always, keep well, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye for now.